Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. What a day. I already can feel the buzz locally. I don't know why. Oh, yeah. It's not for the Red Sox. It's for our Boston Celtics as they go for their 18th banner. They tip off tonight on the left coast against the Golden State Warriors. Currently, Celtics around a plus 140 to win the series. Golden State around minus 160, 165. But what better way to get ready for this series than our good friend from DraftKings, season ticket holder himself for the green, the one and only Mr. Julian Edlow.
Hello, sir.
Good morning, Julian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just reading this story as we go on. Like, we're going to be getting the B team for the NBA Finals in terms of broadcast wise. You know how Breen was out with COVID for the Game 7, and Van Gundy sounded awful on the call. Van Gundy has COVID, so he's one of my favorite guys to listen to, both of the Van Gundy brothers. I want to be the third Van Gundy brother. I find them very entertaining. So no Van Gundy, no Woj. That's kind of interesting. I know it doesn't matter the product on the floor, but the presentation for all of us, like the millions of viewers, interesting.
Who they bringing in?
I don't know. I just literally my phone just vibrated as we started, and I just no Breen, no Van Gundy, no Woj. That's all I know.
I'm going to start here, Julian. January 1st, 2022, you wake up in the morning, you check the standings, you check the future odds at DraftKings, and now 4 or 5 months later, June 2nd, the Celtics are in the NBA Finals. Take us through your thoughts when you woke up. It's a new year. You're looking at the Bruins. You're looking at the Celtics. You're looking at some March Madness, and you're saying, what do I have to root for right now?
Yeah, I mean, just keeping it in a Celtics perspective, I guess it wasn't going to be their season, and it was time to figure out what to do at the deadline. And they obviously made strong moves at the deadline to build around this core. But, you know, I'll put myself on blast for whatever old takes exposed, whatever you want to call it. And Celtics fans take this the wrong way, but like, you know, there was chatter about who to trade in the Celtics core. And I said, basically it was with someone at Barstool that says, you know, Tatum untradeable, Brown untradeable, and then what the level of trades for the other guys are. And I disagreed with that strongly by saying, I agree, Jason Tatum is untradeable. There's not really anything in the league that I would listen to, but that Jaylen Brown is tradable. You know, there's different things that you can receive for Jaylen Brown that would be worth it. And that looks silly now because here they are, and there's much fewer things that you trade Jaylen Brown for now that you've made it here. But I will stand by that take. Like, Jaylen Brown is nowhere near untradeable. Jason Tatum is in that category. So at the time, people kind of took that as you need to go and trade Jaylen Brown, which is not what I was saying. It's just that he is tradable. But the point is, those rumors were there. The smart rumors were there, and they didn't move on from any of them, and it worked. Even if they lose this series, it worked because it was a successful season. You broke through, you got to the NBA Finals. If you lose to the Warriors playing their best, then you kind of tip your cap. So, at the time, I would say, going back to your question, waking up in January, it's what are the Celtics going to have to do to put themselves in position? What they had to do is scramble around a couple role players and turned into a contender. It's unbelievable the turnaround that they had.
We talked, I think the last time we had you on, I think in August, the Celtics made a move and it was a throw-in. It was a laughable. It was a expiring contract or whatever the actual thought process was when Big Al came back for the Celtics. Without Big Al, I personally don't think they would be right now where they are in the championship. Derek White has shown some key minutes in some big spots. He's not afraid of this big stage. I will raise my hand when talking about the big two for the Celtics. I've always been a Jaylen Brown fan, and I was one of those guys that said these two can't play together. And I'm going to stick to this.
Can or can't?
Cannot.
Cannot.
It wasn't working with Stevens. They weren't buying into Udoka. I says it's time to split them up as well. Now, for me, and maybe I am 100% wrong, I know Tatum, what he can do. I just put him at that level that he wants to be one of the top five. He thinks he's already there. The diva status. I always talk about this, Julian, when it comes to these NBA young stars. They don't care about banners. They care about sneaker deals, their brand. They care about music deals, what their 2K rating is. And I swear Tatum wants to play out west. He wants to be closer to Booker, LeBron. Am I wrong to think that?
I don't know if Tatum necessarily cares where he plays. Not that he would play for the Magic or the Thunder, but like, I think that Tatum is fine with being in Boston and accepting being a Celtic because that is a major franchise. Obviously, Boston has its issues getting stars to come here, but when you bring in, Kevin Garnett's the prime example. He didn't want to go to Boston, got to Boston and loved it. I think Tatum's fine being in Boston. I agree that he had at his issues with, wanting to be in a certain class, but now, he's qualified for his extension and he, has his shoe deal with Jordan and he has his first team all NBA. And he beat Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, swept Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving in a playoff series, dethroned the Bucks in a playoff series, beat the team that beat him in the Eastern Conference Finals back in 2020 in this Eastern Conference Final. I think he's checking things off and he has that respect from his peers and he kind of knows that. I think that the next thing is rings. And I think he's aware of that. So will the stage be too big? We'll find out. Is he going to take one shot in the fourth quarter of a close game like he did game 6 against Miami? Hopefully not. But I think that the mindset I think he's getting it a little bit more if you just from listening to post-game press conferences. I think he's understanding it a little bit more. And I think they're focused on winning, to be honest. And I think getting here is going to make the core that they have, appreciate what they have more and focus. Once you get that taste, you want to win more, win or lose in this series. I think they'll want to be back. So I think that things have turned. You're right about where things were with Tatum. I think that things have turned for the better in terms of the mindset of this team and kind of just the younger guys getting it.
I'm so glad you broke it down this way before we get into tonight's game and all the props and all the under-overs and stuff. I don't think this is getting enough attention, especially on social media. And I don't know if you agree or disagree. You just said Brooklyn Nets, KD, Kyrie, who were the preseason favorites. The Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champs. The Heat. Yet, Golden State, A, didn't have to go through LeBron and AD. B, didn't have to go through the Suns. A layup in their first round. The Memphis Grizzlies in the second round, who at one point they were down 55 on a closeout game at Memphis. And then the Dallas
without
Mavericks,
Ja Morant.
without Morant. And then Dallas. And no one's talking about it. No one is talking about what the Celtics went through and what Golden State has got through to get to this point.
No, I said it on the we do the Sports Map radio show, the Diehards. I'm on generally on Tuesday nights, and I was talking with Pepe there, saying, you can make the argument. I know Memphis had a great season, but they didn't have Morant in crunch time in that series. Denver had the MVP, but no Jamal Murray, no Porter Jr. They're not the same. And Luka's fantastic, but just doesn't have enough around him. You can make the argument all three teams that the Celtics beat were better than each of the three teams that the Warriors beat. Celtics definitely had a tougher path. Now, the Warriors are still capable of turning it on, so I don't want to take anything away from them. All they did is beat the teams that were put in front of them in, 5 or 6 games. So they did what they had to do, but they have not been tested like the Celtics, and the Celtics match up very well with them from an X's and O's standpoint. So it's going to come down to the X's and O's versus the experience, which I find fascinating in this series. And pricing wise, I keep every media hit I do this week. I'm calling this series the nerds versus the books, because these analytics sites have the Celtics, your 538s, your ESPNs. I don't know who crafts these numbers, but you've seen them. They have the Celtics like 84, 86% chance to win the series, which is absurd. We know that's not true. There's no way that the Celtics have a greater than, if they played this series 5 times, the Celtics would win 4 of them. No. But it does go to show there's something there that matches up well for the Celtics. Now, if they turn the ball over, if they play sloppy, if they get tight and puke all over themselves like they did late against Miami in Game 7, the Warriors are the type of team that's going to take advantage of that. So they can't do that. But if they can keep it together, they match up well enough that they can win. So it's just, this is one of those series that you can, if it goes this way, this happens. If it goes this way, this happens. You can easily talk yourselves into both sides, and you don't really know which way that's why I'm so excited for tonight, because we don't really know which way it's going to go until we start seeing what this matchup kind of looks like.
I have DraftKings pulled up right now. I'm going to go here for us. And as we speak, a 9:10 start.
Yep.
Currently, DraftKings, Golden State -3.5, -115, and under over of 212.5, -110. Your money line -165 for Golden State. The Celtics +145. What we have done here at ECSI, Julian, is the last 2 series didn't bet the pre-flop, waited till the Celtics lost, who they were 2-1 against the Bucks. They were -170 against the Heat. Got the plus money, won and cashed the last 2 series. Now you could get in with the Celtics plus around 145 for the series now, or if you think the Celtics are going to lose Game 1, you're going to get them at plus 210, 215, down 1, assuming the split coming back home. Before we dive into today's game and the props and anything, do you have any? I know you had some futures, I thought, but if someone is coming in with nothing, what would you tell them initially before the opening tip?
Yeah, I do have futures, but they aren't ones that I gave out publicly at the time, because I was tentative, right? These are bets I'm making in February and March, and I was still like, are the Celtics really going to get there? So, full disclosure, I didn't invest much of my own money in it. I used some free play that I had on the Celtics, and at the time it was like plus 1,000. So I have the Celtics at plus 1,000 to win it with free play. So I'm whatever. I'm not going to hedge it. That's house money. I want to be on the Celtics side of this, but I have added some on the series now that we're here, and I put out Celtics plus 130 for the series. And I agree with you. Like, it's a spot where I might get back in if they lose game one. I think game one is a really interesting spot because there's the narrative that this is going to be like a down spot for the Celtics. I don't know if it's going to be. The last time this was a down spot for the Celtics, it was coming off the Game 7 win against the Bucks. One day in between games, go to Miami for a game one, and Miami had been off for, I think, 5 days, maybe 4 days off in between. So, yeah, it was that. It was 4 days off for them and a day off for Boston. That was going to be a down spot for the Celtics. Now, they did ultimately lose that game because of the 22-2 run by Miami in the third quarter. But they played that game without Marcus Smart. Mm-hmm. They played that game without Al Horford, not knowing that he was going to be out until about 2 hours before the game with the COVID test. And they were up 8 at halftime with what they had in that game. So this time around, the Warriors have the rest advantage, but they've been off a week. So this is one of those rest versus rust things. What are the Warriors going to look like early? And the Warriors do come out clunky at home sometimes and then pick it up in the third quarter. The Celtics, who are, this down spot, they need more rest. This is the most time the Celtics have had off since games 2 to 3 of the Bucks series. Since then, they played 12 games in 23 days. This time off was welcomed. Now, the one thing I'll say, Time Lord Robert Williams, questionable. I'm going to guess he's going to be out for this game. Okay. He looked poor against Miami. If you give him one more game, that gives you a full week. The size isn't quite as important in this series, although having him healthy would be great against Looney, Draymond. Like, it'll help. If you made me guess on Robert Williams, I would say no. But the rest of the Celtics, that time off was crucial. Al Horford, when he gets that extra time off, has looked much better in the playoffs. Marcus Smart hasn't looked right since the ankle. Maybe this extra time off helps him. The one bigger bet that I put out for game one in my best bets article on DK Playbook is Celtics first half plus 1.5. I think the Celtics are going to come out sharp in this game. And it might take the Warriors a little while to get into it. Now, will those tired legs catch up in the second half and the Warriors make those adjustments and have their hot third quarter? Maybe, probably. But I think it's going to be a close game. I haven't taken a position in the game. Obviously, with my futures, I'm hoping the Celtics pull it out. But I really like the Celtics first half in this game.
Do you buy into, or do you follow, do you make any adjustments on who's reffing the game? You don't buy into the Scott Foster thing and all that bullshit, do
you? I do to a degree. Like, Scott Foster was awful in that game 7. Anytime that he had an opportunity to, give I don't want to call it a coin flip call, like a 75-25 call that should probably go Boston's way to Miami because Miami was down 13 like he did. I go back to, there was a Grant Williams drive on Gabe Vincent where Vincent was clearly still sliding across, and the ref on the baseline had nothing, kind of looked to Scott Foster at center court. Scott Foster from center court called a charge on Grant Williams under the basket when Vincent was clearly moving. So it was hey, if nobody's going to make this call, I'm going to try and keep this game tight. So that exists. He also, didn't he foul Tatum out in the game 4 against the Nets that they did wind up sweeping? He fouled him out late on some tough calls. And the bottom line is he's the guy that was working with Tim Donaghy. So with Scott Foster, I'll never believe that there's nothing there. There's something there. But also, teams can just play better and beat teams regardless of the officiating. Which is what I say. If you think that team's going to play better and win, the officials can only do so much. So officials do play a role in the NBA. I won't completely write that off, but there's a good chance I'm not going to completely stay away from a game or reverse my angle because I see who the officials are.
And I think that's a big problem in regards to it's social media, it's gambling, Twitter. A few of our friends, one I will not call out is, 30 seconds in, yelling and screaming at the refs. Scott Foster, known as the extender, well, he was reffing game 4 against Brooklyn, which everyone thought the Celtics were going to lay an egg and at least extend it to game 5. That did not happen.
That's what I'm talking about. If you play, if you're just going to play better and the Celtics played better, then you're going to get over the poor officiating. And the officiating in the playoffs has been awful both ways. It just hasn't been good. But I will, you'll see if you scroll through my Twitter, you'll see some I can't believe Scott Foster called that, and there's something to it.
No, there's no doubt. I think the problem, I guess, where I'm going with this is, they're not going to get every call right. So you go back to the Bucks series. Giannis is uncoverable. If you go way back to the Jordan days, Jordan would drive the lane, and if the ball went in, they wouldn't blow the whistle. If he missed a shot, they would assume he got fouled because he missed the shot. They would blow the whistle, and he would shoot 2 free throws. Giannis, MVP twice, NBA champion the year before. I think he's kind of sort of earned the respect. Never mind, he is known as the freak. At game 3 and 4, the Celtics outshot the Heat by 40 free throws. So as soon as we get back to Miami, you would have to have thought, Julian, that there was going to be some kind of lean on the Miami side since you were plus 40 at the Garden for game 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, that was a weird series. Especially, the home team won 2 games in that series, and I think that's an interesting narrative to carry into the NBA Finals, where the Warriors are 9-0 at home, 7-2 against the spread. They've won their first home game of each series by at least 16 points. And you're going against the Celtics team that's 7-2 on the road, 7-1-1 against the spread on the road in the postseason. They play better on the road than they do at home. Which is why I love, the Celtics laying those big numbers at home against Miami in that series was tough to back. And then you get these near pick'ems in Miami where it's wow, great value on the Celtics here. So that's why I'm, got to see some of this series, but is it going to be kind of the same way? The Celtics as road dogs now, is that where the value is going to be on them? Because, what are these numbers going to be in Boston now? What's the game 3 number? What does this say it's going to be? That says it's going to be roughly the same, right? They're just going to be flipping these numbers. I
was just going to say that. So you got a 3 to a 3.5. I'm going to guess they might Celtics 2.5. I don't know if they'd started at 3, maybe 2.5. Public pushes it, obviously, depending upon the series, whether it's 2-0 or 1-1. My gut would say 2.5, Julian.
Yeah, if the series number is telling us that the Warriors are the better team, which it is, right? It's not just priced for them a little bit more because of home court. It's saying they're slightly the better team as well. So that means that the Celtics will be slightly less favored at home, I guess, which is great. You get that shorter number on the Celtics if it's, let's call it 2.5. But then you got to pick your spots because they're gonna lay some eggs at home, which stinks because you and I were talking about ticket prices before we came on. You don't want to buy that game where they lay the egg at home. I'm already nervous. I'm a season ticket holder. I sold my game 3. I'm going to the Friday night game 4. I don't want to pass on taking the amount of money that I can get for my game 4 to go to that game and see them lay an egg. So show up at home, please, in the finals. Especially when you don't have home court.
I am banned from the Garden the rest of the playoffs. I'm 0-2.
You're 0-2. Game one, Milwaukee, and what's the other one?
The Saturday night game against the Heat.
Right. Oh yeah, bad one. Well, almost. Come bad, but yeah, that was a bad one.
Yeah, down 26, and I'm You want to leave? I'm sarcastically, yeah. I was at that game, so I am officially banned from the Garden. They're at both bridges, Julian. They're at the Sagamore and the Bourne. They're not letting me cross.
Not letting you over. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess I'm 3-2, 3-2 in this postseason. Not bad. We're over 500, so we'll try and keep it over 500 come next Friday night. I guess we'll say.
If I said to you, how about two exacta plays? And I'm hearing, some clowns out there saying Golden State in 5, Golden State in 6. Obviously they'd beat us on the home court. I say two pre-flop exacta plays. Celtics in 6, Warriors in 7. Is that a bad move?
It's not a terrible move. I think so. I think if you like, I mean, those seem to be the picks. Like, if you like the Warriors, a lot of people are going Warriors in 7, some in 5 or 6. If you like the Celtics, everybody's saying in 6. But the Celtics have lost that key home game in every series. Game 5 against Milwaukee, Game 6 against Miami. Wouldn't surprise me if they choked a Game 6 at home. Honestly, as much as that stinks, like if that game is played, I'll be at it. I'll be furious. But people are asking predictions. I don't hate the Celtics in 7. Is that a big ask for them to win that game? Yes. But you can hedge it if it gets there. I think this series has a good chance to go 7. And I think that the longer the series goes on, the more it favors the Celtics, and the more their back is against the wall, the more it favors the Celtics. I think Golden State will probably be a little bit better early, and Boston will be a little bit better late. But again, I have a hard time betting what's going to happen down the line in this series before we see at least this game tonight and just kind of see how things look. But the Celtics match up well. Like, I don't think anybody's winning it in 5, put it that way. A lot of people think it could go, some people, I won't say a lot of people, are saying it could be a shorter series. I don't necessarily see that. So, I mean, you don't even have to pick a winner if you don't want. That makes it less fun, but you can just bet how many games does the series go? 6 games, 7 games, and then bet sides if you want to bet sides once you get to those games or the games leading up to it.
Stephon Curry, chalk even money to win the MVP. That's the one award he in the finals he does not have on his mantle. I think Tatum I saw around plus 170 MVP. I'm talking like old days. This is Brady versus Rodgers Super Bowl. I bring back the Atlanta Super Bowl where I say Brady was gifted the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, James White had the most phenomenal Super Bowl. I mean, if the name wasn't Brady on the back there, I mean, it was White's MVP to get. So
For sure.
Break down tonight's game, maybe a couple props. Do you have any pre-flop MVP leans? I know there's big names, big value out there. There's the 2 chalks. But take us through today's game, what you're seeing prop value-wise. I know you talked about the first half. Is there a long shot MVP that you're eyeing or anything before? We won't see or talk to you till next week before the Garden game. So lead us through tonight and what as Boston fans should expect before the next time we talk.
Yeah, so let's start with MVP. You mentioned like James White can certainly win a Super Bowl MVP. One of the bets I've made that I'm most proud of, people ask me what's my favorite win. Steve Pierce is the 2018 World Series MVP at plus 3,000. That's like maybe my favorite win as a sports bettor. That can happen in baseball. That can happen in football. It is so much harder to get an Andre Iguodala NBA Finals MVP. I mean, let's just go back. Last Finals MVP was Giannis. Before that was LeBron. Before that was Kawhi. Before that was Durant, LeBron. Like, these things are hard to give out to other guys. People ask me, first year we're getting the conference finals, the Magic Johnson and Larry Bird awards. Who do you want to bet? I said, bet Steph Curry and Jason Tatum. Who won it? Steph Curry and Jason Tatum. These things are much easier to figure out than like, let's craft up a long shot Super Bowl MVP. So like even Jaylen Brown, who is very good, Klay Thompson, who's very good. You're looking at plus 1,100, plus 1,500 on those guys on DraftKings Sportsbook. When it comes to this, 1 year, once every 20 years or so, you'll be wrong and it'll be an Iguodala. But if you just stay consistent on a yearly basis, say what I say, don't go chasing NBA Finals MVP long shots because you're giving your money away every year. Just don't do it. If the Celtics, like people want to bet Jaylen Brown, even at Al Horford plus 9,000, but that price tells you everything. If Al Horford's the Celtics' best player, he can be it for a game. If he's their best player for a full series, they're not winning 4 games against the Warriors. Same thing for Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum has to be the guy, 37-7, whatever it is. And he's going to do that and not win Finals MVP. On the Curry side, you have the narrative. Like the Warriors are a little bit closer where somebody could sneak in there because we've seen it. But 2 of those were Durant. Those don't count because Durant was the better player. So, and then you have the narrative. If Curry wins his 4th ring and has no Finals MVPs, that's going to be ridiculous. So if the Warriors win it, there's even more reason for voters to want to vote for Curry. So I can't talk myself out of it. Curry and Tatum are the only plausible bets in my mind. If you want to go long shots, World Series and Super Bowl, I'm all about it because those are live. NBA Finals long shots are not live. All right, what do we talk? Props. Oh, props. I did put one prop in my article, and it's kind of a juicier player prop. By the way, if you go to DraftKings Sportsbook, like nobody is offering more than us on the NBA Finals. I have not had a chance to go over it all. I'm not going to pretend like I know it all. If you want to bet head-to-heads, you can bet by game. You can bet series points per game average over-unders for any statistic. 3-pointers made. Klay Thompson over under 3.3 per game is one that we talked about on my podcast, Unreasonable Odds, yesterday. Like anything you want to bet, it's there. One thing that I did put in my article, game 1 head-to-head points, Draymond Green, Al Horford. I will lay the juicy minus 160 on Al Horford to score more points than Draymond Green. Draymond Green generally starts series slower and looks to distribute. And then as it gets to close out games, more important games, he shoots more. You'll see that in his game log through the postseason. He only takes like 6 shots a game, and he's a terrible shooter, and he doesn't want to shoot the open shots. 2 games against Boston this year, he had 8 total points combined. Otto Porter's probably coming back. That's another shooting big that takes some minutes on the floor. Al Horford, on the other hand, good matchup size-wise against Golden State. Should look to get some paint touches in this series. We know he's going to be doing the pick and pops with Brown and Tatum, getting those threes. And like I said, there's even if whether Robert Williams plays or not, if he plays, he's not going to play much. And I think that means more for Horford, who's coming off some rest, didn't have to go just one day in between games for the first time in forever. I think Horford, like, if you lose it, this is like a 9 points for Draymond, 7 for Al Horford type of loss, and it's right there. But that's the floor of the bet. I feel like the ceiling, would anybody be surprised if Al Horford scores 18 points tonight and Draymond Green scores 4? Like, that's a very plausible outcome. I just feel like there's a lot of margin for victory there, even at minus 160.
And I have to applaud you as we will close up shop here. I know you have a busy morning ahead of you. We can't thank you enough here for joining us. For someone that doesn't do same game parlays, the last time you were on, yes.
It was only 2 legs. It was only plus 180. I only give it out if I believe in it. Got there.
It got there, and the people with DraftKings accounts had the boost as well. So don't sell yourself short. You got actually a plus 270 there, my friend.
That was too good. The bounce back game and the win. Bounce back game for Tatum, scoring wise, and the win. He was way up there early. He had like
24 and a half. He had 24 and a half. Here's the funny: Celtics were up 26, and Udoka
came out.
Udoka pulls him with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, and then I started to say, OMG. And then we got fortunate because there was a 6-0 run. They cut it to 20. He
Yep.
comes in for the last minute and a half, 2 minutes of the third, hits a three to get to 31. Never scored the rest of the game.
Yep. Needed all of them. And when he came back in the game, I think he missed his first 4 shots. I think that was the 5th shot he took. He missed 4 shots with 28 points and hit his 5th shot to get to 31. But they all grade the same. A winner's a winner.
The one and only Julian Edlow at Julian Edlow at DraftKings Sportsbook at DK Live, and of course the Unreasonable Odds podcast. We are blessed and honored. Hey, listen, enjoy the game, enjoy the weekend, and we will reconnect next week before we get to the Garden. How's that sound?
All right, you too, Jeff. Looking forward to it.
All right, have a great day, my friend. Take care.
You too, sir.
The one and only Julian Edlow. Always great to catch up with him. He will be enjoying the finals here as we all are locally. So always remember this. If you are wagering today or tomorrow or this weekend, please do it responsibly. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number available. Ask for help. Why? Myself, Julian, and everyone else care. We want to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, through 2022 and beyond. For myself, Jeff Dawson, ADC Sports Invest, and a special thanks to Julian Edlow from DraftKings. We wish everyone a blessed day. Thank to everyone here watching and listening. We will be back literally in 18 minutes with the one and only Dubs Anderson talking Memorial Golf.